Hello there, Emma here from Eldenwood Craft, and I'm here today to chat with you about the things I've been making over the last few weeks. Life here at Eldenwood Craft, heading towards the end of July, is pretty good. Summertime, it's been a hot, sticky summer really. We've had quite a lot of hot, uncomfortable days, and I've not always felt like picking up my knitting. But the good news is I have got 3 finished objects and 3 works in progress to share with you. The other bit of good news is that the wrist pain that I mentioned in the last episode is hugely improved. Thank you for all your goodwill, your get better soon messages. It was very much appreciated, thank you. And with that, I think we'll get on with the knitting, and I think that the subtitle for this episode could very well be, if at first you don't succeed, try again, for reasons that will become very obvious as we work through the works in progress, the projects that I've got. So let's get a move on, and I'm going to start with a pair of socks that still needs the ends woven in. Now, these are socks for my daughter. She has finally succumbed to appreciating the joy of a hand knit sock, and she asked me to knit her a pair. This is the second or third iteration of these socks. I knit her one pair that we got the sizing all wrong and she couldn't get it comfortably over her heel. Then she didn't like something about the second iteration of the sock. Can't remember what it was. And now we have finally succeeded in making a sock that she's happy with. My daughter is coming up for 23 years old, but she's quite particular about what she likes to wear. Anyway, here we have a sock that is blowing out. I've got the window just here, but I think you'll be able to see there we go, it's a beautiful pale beige yarn. This is Cascade Heritage in the colourway Macadamia, and we've just got a really simple vanilla sock. I'll talk you through what we did. We've got what I did. We've got a long cuff. I've got all the figures here. I cast on 56 stitches on 2.5mm needles. For the cuff, I knit 29 rounds. I don't know why I did 29 and not 30, but there you go. My daughter asked me for a long cuff, so this is what I went for. But it's too long. There's always going to be something, I think. Anyway, so that's not a problem though, because we can just turn it over like that and you get a really nice turned over cuff. I think that's really cute. Then we did 52 rounds for the leg. Again, I'm not sure why I did 52 rounds and not 50, but there you go. Then I did, I don't know if you'll see this, I did a German short row heel. And then she's a size 6 and I did 60 rounds for the foot and then a regular wedge toe. And that's just a really nice, simple sock that actually she really likes. I used 58 grams of yarn for this pair. It's the first time I've knit socks out of Cascade Heritage. They feel really nice now that they've been washed and blocked. They feel really soft and smooth. I suspect my daughter will be quite hard wearing on her socks, so we'll see how they wear. The only other thing to say about these is that after I had frogged for the second time, what I probably should have done was to soak the yarn, re-skein it, rewind it. I didn't do that. I just knit straight from the frogged yarn, and it was incredibly crinkly to knit with. Not the most pleasant knitting experience, and it was also quite splitty. I can't remember what the knitting experience was like for the first couple of pairs, but I suspect it was splitty because it had been frogged, pulled back so many times. But I wouldn't shy away from picking Cascade Heritage to knit another pair of socks, and in fact I might do that and see what it's like, because they feel lovely in the hand now that they're finished. So that is finished object number 1. Yeah, finished object number 1. Very happy with those. They've been months and months in the making, so I'm pleased to have got those off the needles. I think my next pair of socks is going to be a pair of DK weight socks. I've been talking to a friend about how much yarn. I was always worried with a pair of DK socks that I'd need more than one skein of yarn, more than 100 grams to complete a DK weight sock in my size, which is also size 6. But my friend Sarah said that she can get a pair of socks easily out of 100 grams. So I'm going to give that a go, I think. And I think that would be a really nice way to use up, I mean, I've got so many single skeins of sock yarn in my stash. I've got an awful lot of socks as well. So I'm trying to think of ways to use up those skeins that are not fingering weight socks. So I'll give that a go. And you will see DK weight sock probably in the next episode. Okay, the next thing that I finished, I had also finished in the last episode, or I think I had almost finished it in the last episode, and it's my Sophie Scarf. This is my souvenir knit from Copenhagen trip that I took with my daughter earlier this year. I bought a skein of Knitting for Olive heavy merino in the colour, this lovely grey colour, it's Morning Haze. We all know the Sophie Scarf. There were so many people in Copenhagen wearing a Sophie Scarf, or what looked to be a Sophie Scarf, so I thought I had to make myself one as my souvenir knit. However, when I got to the end of the first iteration of this scarf, I didn't really like the fabric. I was knitting on the needles recommended in the pattern. Did I make a note of what they were? Yeah, the pattern calls for 3.5mm needles, and that's what I was using. But I didn't like the fabric. And this is DK weight yarn. And my reading of the pattern, of the Sophie Scarf pattern, is that it should also be knit in DK weight yarn. And I think I might have mentioned that in the last episode, and someone messaged me, Daughter, I'm really sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's a lovely name, I don't know how to pronounce it. But you kindly messaged me to say that the Sophie Scarf was actually a fingering weight scarf. And I looked at the pattern. I'm just going to see if I can find the pattern, because I want to read you what it says. Bear with. In fact, I'll put it on screen. I'll put the bit of the pattern on screen so that you can see what it says about the yarn that should be used. It's publicly available information, this. So, the Sophie Scarf says, materials, approximately so many grams of cashmere by Mondial, or cashmere classic by Cardiff, or approximately so many grams of compatible cashmere by Knitting for Olive. And then it says in brackets, with 2 strands of yarn held together. So my reading of that was that any of those yarns you hold together to get a DK weight yarn. Hence I knit this in DK weight yarn. And then Daughter said, no, it's fingering weight. And I went back and I looked through the comments on Ravelry, and loads of people have made the same or were checking whether or not it was fingering or DK weight. So I felt a bit stupid. I'm quite an experienced knitter and I thought maybe I should have realised that, but actually I wasn't alone. So I knit this, then I frogged it because I didn't like the fabric, and I re-knit it, and I re-knit it using 4.5mm needles, and I am much happier with the fabric that I've got. It's lovely and drapey. It's a bit bigger than I had intended. I wanted like one that I could just tie and wear once around the neck, but that's fine. I've got a lovely scarf. It will go around my neck twice. I will tie it twice probably, and there we go. It'll be a nice scarf to go under a coat. It will look better than that when I've styled it properly. But yeah, so I've got a nice Sophie scarf that will remind me of my Copenhagen trip. Now, the one thing I don't like about the Sophie scarf is these long thin ends. I have knit one of these before and I remember not liking those long skinny ends when I previously knit it. So I have another scarf on the go that you will see in a minute that doesn't have long skinny ends. Anyway, Sophie scarf, pleased with that. I will wear that this winter, and yeah, I shall remember my lovely trip to Copenhagen. That used 75 grams of DK weight yarn. The Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is a really nice light yarn. It feels very airy. The whole project feels like it's got a lot of air in it, not heavy at all. I really like that, so I would use that particular yarn again for something else, maybe a sweater. It's quite rustic feeling. It's not a soft yarn, but it doesn't prickle around my neck. Okay, right, the third and final project that I have finished is a sweater. You see it's got a lovely halo. This is the Cognac Sweater by Atelier Castin. I talked about it in previous episodes, and it is now finished. I will just pop it on so you can see. Obviously it's not going to go very well with this dress, and it's the height of summer, so it's not going to stay on very long because it's alpaca and mohair held together, so it is a very warm jumper. But I'm rather pleased with it. I knit the sleeves probably a little bit too long, although I have a tendency to knit sleeves too short, so this time I went a bit longer, and actually they're fine, aren't they? So what can I tell you about this? It weighs 296 grams in total. I knit it as per pattern, no modifications made, and I used the recommended needles and got gauge. The main thing about this is it's knit at a looser gauge. I don't think I made a note of what the gauge should be. No, but that will all be in the pattern, obviously. So yeah, loose gauge, and I think you can see my dress through it, so it obviously will need a vest underneath. When I finished it, I wasn't over the moon with it. I thought possibly that I didn't like this loose gauge style or weight. I quite like a heavy jumper, if you know what I mean. But actually sitting wearing this, it feels so lovely and cosy. I think I may have been one round. The construction of this, if I can remember, because it's quite some time ago, the main area of interest for the construction is the back and the shoulders. Now on Ravelry, it's tagged as both a contiguous and a set-in sleeve. I am not clever enough to understand A, what the difference is, and B, whether you can have contiguous and set-in sleeves, and if you can't, actually which one is this. However, the construction was interesting. You start at the back, you do some work on the shoulders, then you do some work on the front, then you knit flat front and back, and then join in around under the sleeves. It was an interesting construction. I enjoyed the knitting of it. The pattern is incredibly well written, very detailed but not overly detailed, which I really appreciated. I knit the size, I'll have to check this, sorry, I should be a better podcaster and have done all this work before I started recording. Cognac Sweater, size knit, size 4. Yeah, size 4. The yarn I used was Drops Alpaca and Drops Kid Silk held together. I don't have the colourway numbers with me, but I'll put all that in the description box underneath the video. Oh, I've got it on, no, I don't have it there. I think this has turned out, so I did a gauge swatch, I met gauge, but I think in the knitting of this it's probably a little bit bigger than it should be. The finished chest circumference of the garment is 44 inches. Yeah, I've said on my notes, nice but a bit big, so I'd go down a needle size if I were to knit it again. Alternatively, reblock and see what difference this makes. So I thought this had come up short. I thought I hadn't been patient enough and had finished knitting too early. So I did give it quite a vigorous shaping when I was blocking it out. So I don't actually think it is too long, but it has sort of created a very slight A-line. You know, when you pull things out, they tend to go that way rather than that way. So I might reblock it at some point and see, it's a fly, see whether that makes a difference. But I'm not too disappointed with where it comes to. It's at sort of mid-hip height. And then the other feature of this is the finishing of the neck, cuff and hem bottom of the sweater. The pattern gives you two choices, either a rib or an I-cord. I chose the I-cord because I thought the picture in the pattern of the I-cord finished sweater was really gorgeous, and that's why I knit it in this colour, because that's the colour that's in the pattern, and why I chose the I-cord. So I'll just show you. There's beautiful, it's a really lovely finish, and then on the cuff and on the hem. Obviously an I-cord finish takes a long time, but it's quite an enjoyable process. I found I preferred knitting an I-cord finish to doing 1 or 2 inches of rib. So yeah, pretty pleased with this. Yeah, I can see myself knitting another one, although I'd quite also like to knit a lento, because I do like I think a lento is a raglan construction. I do like a raglan construction, although I also rather like how this looks. I don't know how much you'll be able to see, but see the shoulder, there's a seam here, and then shoulder comes down there. It gives a really nice finish actually, or a nice shaping. Yeah, I'm rather pleased. I'm actually really looking forward to it being cool enough to wear this. However, now I'm going to take it off and I will be back with you in a minute. Okay, I am back, and that is all my finished objects for this episode. On to works in progress, and I have got 3 to share with you. Now, before I talk about my whips, let me just tell you about a new system that I have introduced into my life to give me more focus for my knitting and start seeing progress with things that I've been making. I work really well to a very ordered way of doing things. I love a list. I work incredibly well with a list. Like many people, I love ticking things off a list, and I basically run my life through a list process and an orderly process. For example, my cleaning, I do certain things on certain days. So Mondays I clean bathrooms. Tuesdays, what do I do on Tuesdays? Tuesdays I do all the dusting. Wednesdays I rotate through skirting boards, corners of ceilings, wiping down woodwork, that sort of thing. Thursdays I hoover. Fridays I do a general tidy before the weekend, and at the weekend I mop all the wooden floors. There you go. I bet you didn't think you were going to get a rundown of my cleaning. Anyway, that's the sort of way that I really like to live my life. I do the same with work. I do certain things on certain days and certain things on certain weeks during the month. So I thought I would institute something like that with my knitting. I have done that before and it has worked really well. And so what I have been doing for the last month is I have 4 weeks of rotation. I might get this in the wrong order, but you'll get the idea. Week 1 I knit on either feet or hands, so socks or mitts. Week 2 is neck and head, so I'll do shawls, cowls, hats, that sort of thing. Week 3 is body, so garment knitting, and week 4 is free choice. So if there's something I want to do a bit more work on or finish, or I have that free choice. And I've only been doing that this last month and it's worked so well. So yeah, I intend to keep doing that over the next few months and see how we get on. Anyway, that just leads into the whips that I've been working on. I have got a handful of inactive whips, which I'm not going to touch on today's episode, but these 3 projects have seen me seen the bulk of my knitting. Obviously I've got the finished objects as well. Anyway, I'm rambling. First up, what should we do first? My bandana. So keeping this in this lovely little John Arbon sock bag. Bandana. Now, I mentioned that I didn't like the pointy ends of the Sophie Scarf. In the war, maybe last year, some point, I found a pattern on Ravelry called Le Bandana by Aimée Gille of La Bien-Aimée, and it was this. I don't ever know, I know I shared it when it was a whip, but I think this may have fallen into the long list of projects that I finished when I wasn't recording last year. So this is Le Bandana. This particular one is knit from my very favourite drops, Nord, and it's just a lovely little simple round your neck, just keep your neck warm. I don't wear big shawls. You know how a lot of the big triangular shawls, you have a big load of fabric here and you wrap it round and tie it. I don't like that at all. For me, it's the shawls are beautiful, it's just not a look that I like to wear. I much prefer something smaller. I've said many times before I love a litmus cowl, and that's about as much as I could take around my neck. But this Le Bandana really ticks that box for me. I can't quite see how well I am styling it, but it's really easy to wear and it doesn't have those long pointy slim ends that the Sophie Scarf has. So this is knit in stocking stitch. You can see the reverse of it, and I don't know how much yarn this took, but I think I think it was in the region of about 60 grams. And you can see at the bottom, at the end, the ends are a bit, they come to a point much more quickly than the Sophie Scarf. So I was thinking about that and I thought I'm going to try another one of those. And so here is my next whip. Right, which way around does it go? Here we go. So I have started knitting at this end, and I have, you know how these things go, you knit from one end, you increase to the middle, and then you start decreasing again. The beauty of this one is that the point at the middle is very slightly rounded. I don't know if you can see that from here. Sorry, not doing this very well. It's very slightly rounded, so it doesn't go like that, it goes like that. It looks really nice. And I have just got to the middle point on this one. The pattern calls for sport weight yarn. This is drop snored, so in my eyes that is a sport weight yarn. This is a fingering weight, so I've used slightly different needles. These are 3.25, let me see if I can read, 3.5mm. I had initially started knitting this as a double knit weight scarf, so I held my yarn double. Again, I didn't like the fabric that I was getting. Can you see the if at first you don't succeed pattern here? So I got over halfway knitting in double knit fabric, realised I didn't like what it wasn't drapey enough for it to be a nice little scarf to wear around the neck, and there was too much fabric. So I decided to rip it back and to knit this in fingering weight, and I'm much happier with the fabric. It looks a bit rubbish at the moment because I am still using the frogged back yarn. It's still a little bit crinkly, a little bit, not too bad, but it really needs a good block and it's really blowing out. The yarn is lovely. I don't know how much you'll be able to see or how well you'll be able to see the yarn, but it is one of my Eldenwood Craft yarns. Okay, it's blowing out really a lot, but this is Small Blue. I wonder if I've got a skein of it up here to show you. Have I got any left? Yes. Not sure how many I've got left. So here is Small Blue. You can kind of see it's a really subtle grey, pale blue, very pale orange and a few speckles. It's a lovely, soft, gentle yarn, and I think it'll look lovely around the neck. So, yeah, that's kind of all there is to say about it. As I said, I'm halfway through, so hopefully I'll be finished by the time the next episode comes round. I'm trying to think of something interesting to say about it, but there isn't. I mean, it's a piece of stocking stitch fabric it's got an I-cord edge at this edge that's curling. Lots of I-cords in this episode. There we go. And it also has an I-cord edge at the other end, but you do some fancy stuff with your stitches around here to give it a slightly stretchier finish, and yeah, some dropped yarn overs and things. Yeah, really nice. I'm glad I ripped back the DK weight. This is a much nicer fabric and I will look forward to wearing that. And I think I'm ever so slightly obsessed with single skein small little shawlettes at the moment. I have got such a long list of ones that I'd like to knit, but I think this could be like my staple one that I go to when I want to pick up a skein of fingering weight yarn and knit something. However, having said that, next up, when I finish that, I've seen that Isabel Kramer has very recently published a new pattern, excuse me, called Bonnie and Clyde. So it's actually 2 small shawlettes that you can get out of 2 50-gram skeins. I'll pop a picture up so you can see what she's done, and I bought that this week because I really liked particularly the stripy one, and the colours, the yarns that she'd used were gorgeous. So I'm going to knit one of those next. And also on my list of ones I really want to try is the now this, I think this is how you say it, Polka Gris by Kate Davis. Apparently it's named after a Swedish confectionery, sort of the candy stick. Again, I'll pop a picture here. So I really want to try that. Another fingering weight stripy one that's slightly different to this. Anyway, there we go. Bandana, halfway done. Hopefully we'll be finished for next time. Put you away and get my next work in progress, storing it in an Eldenwood Craft bag. If you are new here and are not aware, I run Eldenwood Craft, which is my handmade project bag and hand-dyed yarn shop. Been doing it for 10 years now, 10 years this year, and 4 years since we made the move to Somerset, and I have taken Eldenwood Craft full time, which is exciting. Right, in my last episode I mentioned that I had started subscribing to the Loom Wool Mini Skein monthly mini skein club, with the intention of casting on a scarf for the winter. Oh, I just noticed a pulled stitch. And I said that I would hope to have cast it on for the next episode, and I have. So I started collecting started buying the monthly clubs in April. So I'm currently working my way through April's yarn. So I cast on 88 stitches, just checking. Cast on 88 stitches. I did 16 rows of rib, and then each block is going to have 30 rounds of colour. Needles I'm using are 3.25, and each one of these blocks of yarn takes about 10 grams of yarn. Yeah, so I'm part way through my current beautiful mini skein. This is obviously a very brown month, which I am not mad about in any way, shape or form. I love a brown. These are the next two colours that are going to go in, either that way or that way. I'm not quite sure yet, probably that way. Then we will move on to May and June, and I know that July is on its way, so I need to get a wiggle on with this really. Probably next block of neck knitting time that I have, I will put some work into my scarf. It's going to be a very long-term project. I'd be surprised if it was ready for this winter. It might not be ready until maybe winter 2026. But yeah, very pleased with that. And then my final whip is one that I had not mentioned before, and one that I am absolutely thrilled with. It's a newish pattern out from Heidi Kieremeier, and it's the Space Tank. Again, I'll have a picture on screen for you. I am knitting it from Drops Cotton Merino in this colourway, which is 29, something like sea glass or sea green. It's lovely. You can see the little flecks of white where the cotton hasn't taken up the dye that the merino has. So knitting that. This is a DK weight yarn. I'm pretty sure, I can't find, oh here we go, 50% wool, 50% cotton, trying to find how much you get, here we go, it's right at the bottom, 50 grams, 110 meters, yeah, so DK weight. And this is what we have got so far. Looks terrible, all bunched up on the needles like that. I'm actually just going to pop it on the coat hanger, clothes hanger. Okay, there we go. It's got all sorts of cords and things attached to it, but I will explain. So it's a really interesting construction. You start off with a provisional cast on, and you knit in the round for this band, like you're knitting a circular yoke. You increase in certain places. You can see the radial increases. It has raglan shaping for the sleeves, but the lovely thing about this is that it's got a lovely deep shoulder, so you get a lot of shoulder coverage. And then once you finish the circular yoke bit, then you knit flat for the back, flat for the front, and then join in the round under the armhole, which I have just done. And then you can either create an A-line shape or a straight shape, which is the shape that I'm going for, and you finish the hem off with it looks like a 2x2 rib, I'm not sure. And then I can't quite remember what you do for the armhole. I don't have a very good picture for it. Hang on. Okay, so it looks like you finish off with an I-cord for both the neckline and the armhole, so no ribbing there. So if this wasn't called the If at First You Don't Succeed show, it would be the I-cord show. But yeah, I really like the shape of that. I did a gauge swatch. I got gauge on the needles recommended. The yarn, it's the first time I've used this cotton merino. I really like it. It's a bit splitty, but it doesn't detract from the fabric that's created. It's really soft. I quite like it, and I would be tempted to use it again. I don't know how it'll wear. I imagine this will be finished sometime around the end of the summer, so it won't get a huge amount of wear this year, but I'll see how it goes, and I'll report back. But yeah, lovely. It looks really small on there, but it should fit. I do like a vest / tank top, and if this works out, I'd be quite tempted to create one in a more wintry suitable fabric to wear over a long sleeve top. Right, I think that's everything I have to say about that one. Let me have a look to see if I've got any notes. Space tank, no. There we are. Right, really pleased with that. Has anyone knit one of these yet? There is a sweater that the designer designed. I think it might be called the something space, I can't quite remember, but that has the same sort of construction, and that looks really nice, so I might try that in the winter as well. Okay, I think that's it for the knitting talk. What have I got next? Books. Okay, it's been a little while since I recorded, maybe 6-7 weeks, and I've obviously read quite a bit in that time. I'm not going to run through everything that I've read, but I did want to share one book, my latest finish, and possibly, I think there's a high probability that so far this is my favourite book of the year. And it's When the Cranes Fly South by Lisa Ridson, translated by Alice Menzies from Swedish. It's an astonishingly beautiful but sad book. You can see a picture of a dog on the front. This is Beau's dog. Beau is the main character in the book that we're following. Beau is an elderly gentleman who's coming towards the end of his life, and he lives with Sixten, his dog. His wife, we learn, has dementia and is in a home. He has a son, Hans, who wants to take Sixten away from Beau because he doesn't think that he can look after him properly. And the story follows a few weeks in his life, and you hear the story from Beau's perspective. It's very small, everyday things going on, but you get Beau's thoughts, and then these are interspersed with snippets from the carer's logbook about how they found Beau, what his mood was like, what they struggled with, that sort of thing. It's a really simple book, but oh my goodness, it packed a punch. I finished reading it yesterday and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Books don't normally get me. I know I've had a couple of criers this year, but usually I don't get that emotionally worked up by a book. But this one, oh honestly, I was really ugly crying. It was just phenomenal. Beautiful writing, really easy to read, but really thoughtful and reflective, and it made me think so much about my parents, one of whom, my dad, died a few years ago, and my mum is on her own, like Beau is. Yeah, it just really made me think about my parents. So this was obviously a 5-star read. I cannot recommend it more highly. If you get a chance, please go and read it. It's beautiful. And if you have read it, love to know what you thought. And if you do read it, do let me know, please. I'd really like to know whether you liked it as much as I did. Okay, final thing I'm going to talk about today is the Eldenwood Craft shop. Just a little sort of piece of public broadcast, what do they say? Public broadcast announcement, something like that, I can't remember. One of my big goals for this year was to have much more ready to ship stock in my shop. Previously I have very much worked, my business model has been I will create a small batch of project bags, and then they would go on sale, and when they run out, then you can place made to order orders, which is brilliant, and it worked incredibly well, and I am incredibly grateful for you all keeping me so busy with your orders. However, it's always niggled me that my ready to ship availability has been dreadful, and I know it can be frustrating if you see something that says, oh, you're not going to get this for 4, 5, 6 weeks. It would probably put me off ordering. So I really want to flip my business model to a much more ready to ship availability model. And so I wrote to my newsletter subscribers at the beginning of July to let them know this, to let them know that July would be the last month where all my fabrics are available as made to order. I let them have a nice little discount for any made to order bags they wanted. And I have been very busy over July, as you can imagine, making those orders. But then come the, probably from September, I will be hoping to have much more ready to ship stock in the shop. So my made to order offering will be much more limited. There will still be some, but I'm going to really limit down the numbers so that I can concentrate on having more ready to ship and lots, I say lots, I don't know how feasible it will be, but I want to have lots more different stuff in the shop, if that makes sense. I've currently got 4 standard bag sizes. I'm talking about project bags here. The yarn that you saw in the box earlier, that is all ready to ship. But I've currently got 4 styles of bags, notions pouch, a small, medium and a large bag. I want to maybe increase the range of bags I've got and bring in some other sort of useful things for knitters and crocheters. So my message today is, if you want a made to order bag from a fabric that's currently available in the shop, please go and get that ordered within the next week or so, because the availability of made to order bags will be reduced significantly come mid-August going into September. And as a thank you for being around, my email subscribers already have this offer, but for the next week or so you can use the discount code 15 for July for 15% off any made to order bag. I think that currently runs out at the end of July, but I probably will extend this for a week or so. So if you're interested in one of the fabrics for a project bag that's available in my shop, get on it now, is my message. I hope that's clear. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and yeah, now just seemed like the right time. So that's everything that I've got to chat with you about today. Do leave any questions that you've got in the comment box below the video, or if you want to share what you've been working on, what you're reading, anything, or if you just want to say hello, it'd be lovely to hear from you. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a like, that would be lovely, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I will see you again with more knitting and books and shop talk very soon. Take care, bye!